Hey everyone, what you see here is a new game that I've been working on. Now everything has been AI generated. And yes, I mean everything from the backgrounds to the individual sprites and also the sound and music as well. So in addition to vibe coding the game logic, one of the biggest things that people are always asking about is, can you use AI to create your own original game assets? And the answer is yes, as long as you know how. By the end of today's video, you will see how I managed to get this entirely new wizard character created from scratch all the way to being integrated into the game. And just to make it concrete, I will be taking you step by step through the entire workflow, including how you can create animations using sprite sheets like idle and attack, but more importantly, how to get Walkcycles working correctly. If you're looking around, things like GPT Image 2.0 and Nano Banana 2 have been really good for creating game assets, but they still really struggle with Walkcycles. With the workflow that I'm showing you today, you'll be able to make use of these techniques to generate all kinds of animations. So if you've always wanted to know how to create your own game character assets, this video is for you. Now, before we jump in, if you'd like to follow along with today's tutorial, I've made this entire cheat sheet along with all of the prompt templates and the reference images available for free as part of my Insiders Club. Within it, you'll find free resources from all of my other videos, including source code, skills, plans, and other prompt templates to help you on your AI game development journey. But if you'd like to take things a step further, check out VibeGameDev.com. It includes things such as specialized game development skills that I've been working on. For example, in today's tutorial, everything that you see here can be automated and accelerated thanks to these two skills that you see here for animating and creating game sprites. VibeGameDev also includes many other things to help you on your game development journey, including the full source code of projects along with prompts, skills, templates, and more. There's also an exclusive Discord community where you can hang out and share tips and tricks with other game development vibe coders. My goal is to provide you with the resources and everything that you need to build that dream game thanks to the power of AI. Head on over to the links in the description below, and without further ado, let's get started with today's tutorial. So what we'll be doing today is effectively creating from scratch this wizard character that you see over here. And this will include all 4 facing directions, the idle animations, also the walking animation, and then we'll include the attack animation as well. This was pretty much the same approach that I used to do this cowboy character that you see here. So you can see we have all 4 directions, and then we have the attack in all 4 directions as well. All of these techniques should work regardless of which AI tool you're using. But just wanted to call out that if you already have a ChatGPT subscription, you probably want to use Codex. And the reason for that, there is this inbuilt image generation skill that is part of Codex. And it also doesn't use the API, so it just piggybacks off your existing Codex subscription. And this is very useful so that you don't have to spend extra money. I have my own image generation skills that I use here, and I make use of something called fal.ai because it provides me with a single API point for me to do all of my experiments, whether it's using Nano Banana 2, whether it's using Images 2.0, or whether I'm using a video generation model. So let's go start up with the first step here. And this one is entirely optional, but I wanted to show you the process that I go through when I'm building games. And the first thing I wanted to do here is that I wanted to create box art for this new character. And this is the prompt that's optimized for GPT Images 2.0. So let me just jump in here to show you what I mean. So you can see I actually generated a bunch of box art for the various different characters within my game. And the whole idea here is that you want to just capture the concept and feel of these characters. And when you're doing, say, the selection screen, you're able to showcase these box art characters as part of the game as well. All right. And like I said, this is completely optional. The real first step that you want to be focusing on is creating something called an anchor. And this is the most important image that you have to generate. And the reason for that is that every single image that comes after that, including all of the animations, will all be generated based on this first image. So you want to make sure that you get this right. And I got this wrong, which I'll show you why very shortly. So what I like to do is get a south-facing anchor because this gives you like the main key features of the character that you want to be focusing on. Now, you can see that I'm going for a pixel art style. So there is a trick to get Images 2.0 to get something that resembles this a lot more. So let me just show you the prompt over here. This is the prompt structure for Images 2.0. And this is the prompt template that I use, which means that you can actually swap this out and use it for any other character that you might have in mind. And I'm sharing all of the prompt templates, the images, and everything as part of this repository. And I've also released the prompt templates and some of the resources from today's project so that you can get hold of them and also play around them. But the key thing here is that if you want to get this pixel art-like style, the trick is to not only provide your prompt, but to provide an input image, which is effectively a grid of black and white squares. So you can see here, this role of this input image over here, along with the prompt, is intended to enforce a pixel art block-like discipline, okay? And this is a tip that I got from Kimo, who's building an AI sprite generation tool. So you should definitely follow this account and check out the tool as well. I've learned so much from just following people and looking at some of the tips and tricks that they share. Once you put this in, this helps you to get the pixel art style that we're looking for. One of the things that you could do is provide your box art image as a second reference image, right? But the thing here is that once you do that, you will see that the image generation will be influenced quite a lot by your box image, and sometimes can end up with an end result that is still pixel art, but it's a lot more high fidelity. But I wanted to go for this like lower fidelity, 16-bit-ish art style. So I decided to stick with this one and not include the box art as well. I think it's worth pointing out at this time that there'll probably be some of you up in arms and saying, this is not real pixel art. And you're right. I'm going to explain this very quickly now so that you understand the point that's being made. So if you zoom in onto this image, okay, you will notice that these pixels are not really pixels, right? I don't know whether you can see it on the screen, but these pixels are effectively made out of like smaller pixels. And these are not really pixel art characters. You can see this is like just very blurry lines. So this is what people like to call mixels, and it's not true pixel art. Now, I'll just show you very quickly over here. So this is a new tool that I've been working on that helps to solve this problem. I'll say this for another video, but there is a way for you to be able to snap the pixels so that it's no longer this blurry mess where you can see there's all these little square blurry pixels. Whereas for this one that I'm scrolling to over here, these are real pixels, right? There's no fake pixels making this up. This is real pixel art over here. And when you have real pixel art characters, they just look a lot better. There's a way to solve this, and I'll be covering this in a follow-up video. But let me just say, I think for the purpose of building games, especially games that you see over here where you're playing on a computer and you just want to have a bit of fun and you're still iterating on ideas, it's not really necessary for you to actually get real pixel art. You can get away with it. Like this version that you see over here, these sprites are using the fake pixel art that I talked about earlier. And you can get very far with this, and I would highly encourage you, unless you really need pure pixel art games, you don't need to waste too much time, at least initially, on how to make your art true pixel art. And depending on who, some people may not even notice, some people will notice, but I think there's a little more to concern yourself with when you're vibe-coding games. And I think if you're just trying to get some art going, get a style going, I think the main thing is to get something up and running, get your game, get it working the way you want it, playing the way you want it, and then you can make those fixes later. Okay? I'll spend quite a lot of time on this because everything else follows on top of that. But make sure you get this first south-facing anchor looking correct, and then you should be on your way to be able to do everything else that comes after. Now, one of the things that I will advise you as well is try to keep your south-facing pixel art neutral. Okay? And so this is just one step that I did only after I learned my lesson the hard way. And the reason is that you will notice that this one has this fireball magic in the hand, and this one doesn't. If you're doing a walk animation and you don't want them to continuously carry that fireball with them, it's going to be quite difficult. This is just the next advice that I will give you, which is use a neutral pose. So this is the prompt that will help to avoid any type of things like holding a weapon that you don't want them to be holding all the time, right? Because most of the time you want them to swap weapons out, or you want them to cast magic or whatever. So if you need them to not hold anything that you don't want them to hold, this is the updated prompt. Same technique, you pass in this grid of images, and then you use this prompt, and it should give you a south-facing anchor that is neutral pose. And then later on, when you're doing your attack animations, which I'll show you very shortly over here, you can then ask it to include it. But for your main reference, you always want to start with a neutral pose, south-facing anchor. So now that we have our neutral pose anchor, we're going to use this and then generate all of the other art assets in the other directions as well. All right. So here you can see that the prompt that we're going to use is over here. Okay. And what we're going to do is that we're going to put in two images. We're going to put in the neutral anchor as the first image. And then once again, we're going to put in this pixel grid as a guide. And the main thing that you want to do here is that you just specify what direction that you want. So now we've already got the south-facing one. I want one that is west-facing. And then I want another one that is north-facing. What I found is that oftentimes, just to save costs on image generation, you can simply flip the left one so that you can get the east-facing anchor over here. And this will allow you to have all four anchors. So you have to be careful, okay? because you can see that this character is holding a book. And then when they flip over to the back, sometimes the image model can make a mistake. You can see when it flipped the character to the back, put the book in a wrong position. So when this happens, you will need to prompt the model to not let artifacts appear at the back. So this is something to just look out for whenever you're dealing with these kind of models, okay? So just jumping back into the game over here, so you can see once you have the 4 anchors, north, south, east, west, you're going to be able to then just animate each of these anchors to perform the action that you want. So basically getting to this place is the most important thing. And as part of my experiments, I've been working on the tool. Given an input image, he will get you that south-facing anchor. And then after that, he'll give you all the north, south, east, west facing characters as well. So this tool is something that I've been working on. My plan is to initially release this tool maybe for testing as part of the VibeGameDev Vault so that I can beta test it and see if it actually is useful. And I might convert this into a web app in the future. Now that we've got the 4 directions, we're going to go into the meat of today's tutorial. And here is where a lot of people trip up. Because one thing to realize is that while the image models are very good at generating stills like this, when it comes to generating animations, you tend to have a lot of problems with consistency, weird kind of animations. And if you don't do a bunch of tricks, you will end up with very odd behavior. I'm sure you've seen people posting out there where they're having problems with Walkcycles, they're having problems with things getting out of the frames. This is what I found to be able to work for me, to be able to get to a stage where you have fairly consistent characters and you don't have any weird scaling issues or any weird walk cycle issues as well. There are 2 ways of doing animations. The first one is doing animation using image generation. And the way that I like to do it is that when you have your anchors, you want to give the model as much guidance as possible. If you're working with GPT Image 2.0, there are a bunch of standard sizes that it supports and quality settings, and I found that this works best for me. So what you have to do is get this to a large enough size. Okay, 1024 by 1024 is a really good size for your anchor. And then for that, you should be targeting a frame size within your game of 256 by 256. And the reason why I say that is that for this kind of game at this resolution, you don't want it to be too small, because if it becomes too small and if you're not using pixel perfect pixel art, you will end up with very strange looking art assets. All right, so I found 256 by 256 as a really good size that makes it look really in game. So you can see here there's these idle animation and the attack animation. Okay, and this is like 256 by 256. So what you want to do is very simple. So this is the prompt that you want to use into the image model, and you pass in 2 images. So the first one, like I said, is the anchor. And the second one is a canvas that already is pixelated, that is anticipating the animations to be 5 by 2, okay, or 2 by 5, doesn't matter. So this will be 1280 by 512, and these are the 2 images that you want to pass in. This is the prompt template that you can use, and you can specify the frame sequence, and this really helps to guide the image model to do things correctly. You can get AI to generate this prompt for you. Just say, this is the template, and specify things frame by frame. And you can get really good results just by doing this. So you can see here, that's the idle animation. All right. And then here is one for the attack animation. And this works really well. So if I jump into the game, you can see the idle animation is here. You can use this approach for the other direction. So you can see here, this is the attack animation, and this works correctly as well. Now, one thing to highlight is that even though you pass a guide like this, when you get back your results from your image model, more often than not, it will not actually be evenly spaced out. So you will actually find that some of the frames are actually like this in your generated result. So meaning the character is not completely centered within a 256 by 256 frame. I don't know why this is the case, but this still helps guide it. And what you will do later, which I'll show you, is that you just normalize it and you can just extract out the animation frames by yourself. What you want to do here is just tell your AI to extract out the character from the output image and then relay it out into a proper grid that you see over here. Okay, and once you do that, then you have an evenly spaced out sprite sheet. Okay, so because this is really important, because if you don't do this, let me just show you. Can you see this? Okay, so this is a broken implementation that you see over here. Can you see like it's flickering around because it's not correctly normalized. So it's actually sliced it wrongly. So what you want to do is to actually fix this. What I've done is I've actually created my very own animated sprite sheet skill. This is also part of VibeGameDev.com. And this one will automatically do all of this for you. So you'll be able to extract out the sprites and then lay it out in an even grid for you as well. There are many other things that this skill is capable of, which I'll talk about very shortly, but just do note that this is something that you need to keep in mind. So this technique over here, using image generation, works pretty well, okay? The only other thing that you want to be aware about is that sometimes you may not want to use all of the frames that it generates. I'll give you an example here. This animation, the eye is blinking here, and then for the rest of the frames, they may not have actually changed that much. So you do not need all of the frames. Another one is over here, for example. So maybe you want to drop the first frame so that you go straight to the hand being raised. And then after that, you just want this frame and then maybe this frame. And you don't want to have this one where the fireball is actually part of the sprite as well. So you may have to drop some of the frames in order to make this work. And this is especially true when you're doing Walkcycles, all right, which is what I'm going to talk about next. Generating sprite sheets works pretty well, but you will never, ever get Walkcycles looking correct, right? No matter what you try to do, you try to pass in a reference, you try to prompt your way out of it, it just doesn't work. Just trust me, I've spent so much time on this. Instead, this is the technique that works. However, warning, this is an expensive approach. If you just do it naively, which is how I'm going to show it to you today, which is what I've been using, it's more foolproof, but it's quite expensive because it's going to use a video generation model. And I'm still investigating ways to get this down, but I thought I'll just share it anyway. You just want to pass in that same anchor image that you want, so whether it's north, south, east, or west. And what you want to do is just use this prompt over here, okay? This prompt is really important to ensure that your character stays within the frame. Let me just jump very quickly to one of these other sprites that I've been working on, okay? So you want the character to be running and jumping in frame because otherwise, if they jump and they jump out of the frame, you can't use it, okay? So you need to prompt it correctly in order for the character to be running in place so they're not running across the frame and they're not jumping out of the frame as well, okay? So this is really important. This is the prompt template that works really well for me. The other thing is that never ever pass in any guides or canvases, okay? If you pass in a guide, you would think that, oh, maybe it helps it to be more pixel art, like, doesn't work, okay? It'll actually blend this thing into your model and you have very strange results. So do not do that. You just need one image. And then from here, this will actually just generate you a movie file. Here's an example of how it will turn out. So you will get a walking animation. And this is the only way that I found to actually get a walk cycle to look correct. So the arms are correctly alternating between the right leg and the left leg and everything else works fine. Now, the problem that you will face here is that it will be about 80 to 90 frames usually, all right? Because most of the times, the animation will be about 4 to 5 seconds long. The model I'm using is Seedance 2.0, image to video, and I think the shortest video is 4 seconds. So no matter what, you're going to end up with a lot of frames. Just from this animation, you end up with 121 frames, which is not great because you don't want to create a sprite sheet with 121 frames. And secondly, most of the animation is actually just repeated, right? So the manual way of doing this is that you just jump through your frames and you say, okay, this is the frame that I want. And then just do one complete cycle, frame 1, frame 7, frame 9, frame 12 or whatever. Let me just show this to you in practice. As you can see here, we've got all of the 100 or so frames. And this is also yet another tool that I built and I'm planning to release as part of VibeGameDev.com. And the idea here is that if you want to do a walk cycle, if you just scrub through, all right, so he does one leg in front and then he does the right leg, left leg, and then right leg. So all we really need is just the first couple of frames. What I'm going to do is this, like a good starting frame. And then I'm just going to scrub through and say, okay, this is about one cycle. All right, and I'm going to set the end. And then I'm going to set the number of frames that I want, okay? And then you automatically distribute it between this. Let's just say 10 frames. I just click this, and this will now automatically just evenly find the frames that will allow me to have a smooth walk cycle. And it's a bit hard to see with this one, so I'm going to do it with yet another example just to make this clearer because the wizard's wearing a cloak, so it's not that easy to see. So let me just do this again. So if we assume that this is the start of the animation, right? So they go left leg, right leg, and then this looks like the same as the first frame that I had, right? So the first frame is frame 2. And then frame 29 was just about coming into the start frame. So that would be the end. And then maybe I want this to loop over 8 frames. I do distribute, and then I do selected only. And then now let's just play it. You will see that this will give you a complete cycle with just 8 frames. And effectively, this is what you need to do. So from the 80 to 90 frames, you pick 8 to 12 frames that you want for your animation, select it, and then you merge it all into a single sprite sheet. So I'll just show this to you how it looks like. So let's just go to one of the characters, and then there's the wizard. And then I'm just going to do a walk west. All right. And then you can see here, it's just stitch this together into a single walk cycle. Okay, and then you can then very easily integrate this into your game. So that's your sprite sheet. And so this will be game ready already. And so once you get to this point, you just repeat this process for each of your animations that you want, and you pretty much can get to where I got to, which is effectively you get all your walking animations, and then you also can get your attack as well. Okay. And so the last thing that you will need to do is something called the sprite normalization process. And there are many reasons why you want to do this. I actually did a whole video on why normalization is important. But the main thing here is you want to extract out the character. You want to remove the background to make it transparent, because remember, Images 2.0 does not support transparency. And Nano Banana 2 does not support transparency as well. However, you can use many different ways of removing backgrounds. I used to use this thing called remove.bg, and it works really well. And it also has an API as well. So I built a skill for this. But then if you're using fal, you can actually use Bria background remove as well. So you can just use a single skill and then just specify that you want to use this model to remove the background. And you will see that all of my images have a chroma background, which is this very bright purple, which I actually gloss over a little bit in my instructions. But yeah, you always want to specify a chroma as part of your prompt so that you can then very easily remove the background later. Okay. Then the next thing you want to do is just measure the bounds of your character. This is something I mentioned before. You want to measure the bounds, make sure that your character sits within the bounds. All right. And then you want to do a height correction. When you're doing something like casting spells or jumping, you may end up with a situation where the character ends up taking less of the image. And so you want to just normalize the heights across all of the frames as well. So this is height correction. And then you want to anchor and pad them. So this is a really good example of all of it not working correctly. So if you do not anchor the legs, it just jumps across all the frames. So you will see your character moving around within the game. So I'll just show it to you here. So you can see the character's moving all around in the game, which is not what you want. Whereas if you look at the cowboy here, he still stays in place. So you want to adjust the height, anchor it, and then finally you want to rebuild it into your spreadsheet and integrate it into your game. I actually wrote an article on this entire process, and the feedback I got is that, oh wow, it sounds fairly complicated. It sounds complicated if you had to do this manually, but thanks to the power of AI, you can actually just create a skill for this, which is exactly what I've done here. For example, all I have to do now is just say, let's generate the updated Walkcycles and attack, and then I say animated-spritesheets. Okay, I want to use fal.ai video for the Walkcycle and then GPT Image 2.0 for the attack. And that's pretty much it. Once that's done, it just goes ahead and does everything for me. It does all the reference images, it does all the facing, it uses fal video, it extracts out the image, and effectively it's just a single prompt, right? And then you can see here, I say, let's just do the idols now. And then I just pass in GPT Image 2.0 saying that I don't want to use a video model. And you can see, right, the results just come out just like that. And then finally, the whole thing about making sure that the scale and everything is correct. You can see I'm just using the gamedev-assets here, and I just say, make sure to use gamedev-assets to normalize the asset to be consistent. And that will automatically go ahead and solve all of the issues so that you can get a normalized set of characters working within your game. So now your sprite assets are all ready to be integrated in the game. And this is where I use the technique, which I always recommend in all of my videos. For all of my assets that I have, I always have something called an index.json. And this index.json is something that you can ask your AI to generate that will know exactly which frames, which assets exist, what are the frame sizes, how many frames they are, and knows whether it's an attack animation and which facing it is using. In short, this index.json identifies what resources you have. All I did was update index.json with the new sprite sheets that I generated. And then after that, I said integrate the box art. So you can see over here. And that from that point onwards, it's just prompting and just getting into the game. I think there's just 1 or 2 prompts and everything was working fine. All right, so that's it for today's tutorial. I think with all these image models becoming better and better, it's just a huge unlock, because if you're like me, I can't draw art, but I love making games. This has allowed a lot of people to now unlock their creativity and get game assets that are ready to use within the game. And like I said, these may not be pixel perfect, but they are definitely good enough for you to get rolling and fulfilling that dream game of yours. So I hope you found today's video useful. Don't forget to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and also turn on notifications so that you'll always be the first to know when new content like this drops. And if you haven't seen my previous video where I actually outline how to make a multiplayer game that allows you to play with players all around the world using a single library, you want to check out this video that I did over here. All right, so till next time, I'll see ya.